here's your square lashing tutorial. So, to practice, first thing you need, 2 sticks. Something you can wrap the rope around to pull it tight. So in this case, I'm using my axe handle. And I don't know, wingspan and a half of rope. This is more than I need, but it's the size that I have. I don't want to cut it. So, first thing, take the end of your rope. Take about, I don't know, 8 inches a foot. We're going to do a perfection loop to start. So pass that rope underneath, turning the car key on, pinch between your thumb and your index, like that. Take that rope, pass it over your thumb, pinch between your thumb and your index. Take the end of that, pass it between your thumb and your index, so underneath your thumb. Then take that top loop and pull it through the bottom loop. There's your perfection loop. So, I typically do my lashings from this perspective. We're going to start from the left and work our way to the right. So a square lashing will start with a hitch and end with a hitch. The lashing can start and end with a number of knots, but these are the ones that I found to be the fastest and the most secure, particularly with slippery line that people wouldn't recommend, but they can be more rot resistant. So slippery line is harder to work with, but synthetics are cheap and common. So, sorry, I skipped over what I just did. So, I'm going to pass your perfection loop underneath that bottom stick, then take your rope and pass it through that, pull your whole rope through the your perfection loop, and pull that down tight. So you see now, our rope is secured, so that's our first hitch, right? So now, the pattern is, you take this, I like to pull my hitch to where it's at the edge of the bottom stick, so that it's a clean 90-degree bend. That just makes it look nicer. You take your rope, you pass it over this top stick, making sure I'm in focus, and under the bottom stick, and then over your top stick, and then under the bottom stick. You're trying to keep it tight the whole time, as tight as is reasonably achievable. So then over the top stick, and in this case I can pass the rope over the ends of these because I'm practicing, but on a structure you're going to have to bundle up your rope and pass it over. I've done some lashings that took quite a while because just how much rope I had to pass over and under, because I was using 20 feet instead of just 2 wingspans. So we're keeping tension as we go. So while I'm doing this, I'll explain. These are called our wraps, and there's 2 parts to a square lashing. Your wraps and your fraps, F-R-A-P-S, frappuccino. So I couldn't actually find any data on how strong square lashings are for how much rope you use. So if it was really important, I might test it, but I've never had the square lashing I've done break on me, so I typically just kind of go overkill. So now that you have the end of your wrap, you've done as many wraps as you want. You take your rope, you pass it over like an X, and then it doesn't really matter where you start your fraps, but you basically, this part doesn't matter how you do it. You take your rope and you start wrapping around the joint itself. So you can see instead of going over and under the sticks, I'm just going between them, and I'm pulling tight as I go. Stretchy rope, like nylon, paracord, it's typically nylon based, works really well for this because you can help keep it under tension. This rope is stiff enough, and this is a small enough joint. Well, I'll show you how to use the frapping stick like you would for a bigger joint. So you want to keep tension on your line, wrap your rope around your frapping stick, and then pull it tight. And hold that tension. On small line or braided line that can hurt your hands where you can't pull it tight, frapping stick is definitely required. So now that we've done our fraps, you can see our joint is a lot tighter than it was because we're squeezing the rope, the wraps that we did, which is pulling them even tighter to pull these two sticks together. If you wanted to do a flat spot or a joint, that would help even more. But generally more wraps is going to have a tighter joint, and you know, having rougher bark or whatever between your sticks will add friction. And then just do as many fraps as you can fit, really, and pull them as tight as possible. So now the secret technique that I came up with was I actually end my lashings with what's called a whipping, and it's a way, it's a type of knot, kind of, that I can keep tension on the rope the entire time to get it super tight. So I'm going to take my rope and hold it after coming out to the right side, and then go. And then I'm going to go under my right stick and start wrapping towards myself. So these are going to be I call them charges, because you end up unraveling these later in the technique. So the more slippery your rope is, the more of these you're going to want. It also depends on how grippy your bark is, because having grippy bark is going to help keep your rope from coming undone. This is a particularly slippery rope, and it has smooth bark. So I'm going to do maybe 7. Alright. Then you're going to take the end of your line after doing your charges, and you're going to keep in tension on this. Set it across your stick going back towards the joint. Now you're going to take your line that's coming off the fraps, and you're going to start wrapping over the end of that line that you set across. So it's going to start wrapping over and then coming undone on this side. And you want to keep tension on that as much as you can and stack those up next to each other. You'll know if you did the whipping charges wrong, because if you do them in the wrong direction, you won't be able to unwrap this side. So I'm wrapping those over, I'm keeping tension on the rope. Now I've created a bunch of wraps over my line, and I'm just going to pull that as tight as I can. So now all of these are cinching, the rope is cinching down on itself. So this is a permanent joint. and it keeps tension in the line. I could have done this better. This is a little loose, but that's the whipping. And to finish this off, I'm not going to do this here, but if you wanted a permanent joint, you can just cut this and tie an overhand knot, or cut it and burn it with a lighter, and that's permanent. I might do a few more whippings if I did this again, or maybe a few more fraps, but that's the idea. So there's your square lashing tutorial.